I remember the day it all started to unravel. It was a regular Wednesday afternoon, just like any other. The sun streamed through the living room window, casting a warm glow on the mess of toys and magazines strewn about. I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through my phone when I noticed something strange. My wife, Emily, was acting a bit off. She was distant, lost in her thoughts, and there was an edge to her voice that hadn't been there before. We've been married for 5 years. I thought we had a great relationship, or at least a solid one. Sure, there had been some bumps along the road. Who doesn't have a few arguments about chores or finances? But we always worked things out. I trusted Emily maybe too much. Over the next few weeks, I noticed more changes. She started coming home late from work, something she hadn't done before. When I asked her about it, she shrugged it off, saying she was just swamped with projects. I wanted to believe her, but my gut was telling me something was off. I'd catch her texting at odd hours, her cheeks flushing whenever I walked into the room. It was little things, but they added up, gnawing at my confidence in our relationship. One night I decided to surprise Emily by cooking her favorite dinner. I was all set in the kitchen, playing romantic music, when I heard her phone ding on the counter. Normally, I'd respect her privacy, but curiosity got the better of me. I glanced at her screen and my heart sank. There was a message from a contact named Jake. I didn't recognize the name, and the text read, "Can't wait to see you tonight, babe." Just like that, the world around me darkened. I felt a wave of nausea crash over me. Everything I thought I knew crumbled in an instant. I told myself I was overreacting, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously wrong. The next day, I decided to take action. I had to know the truth, so I followed her. It felt like something out of a cliché movie, but there I was, parked a few blocks away, waiting for her to leave the office. My heart raced as I watched her get into a car, a sleek black sedan that wasn't ours. I squinted, trying to catch a glimpse of the driver. When she leaned over to kiss the guy, my heart shattered into a million pieces. I felt like I was living in a nightmare. I drove home, shaking with anger and disbelief, trying to formulate a plan. The confrontation would be inevitable. I couldn't just let this slip by. But what would I say? How could I ever confront the woman I loved about something so vile? Later that night, when she walked through the door, I was waiting. She entered the house, her hair cascading over her shoulders, wearing one of my hoodies, an innocent gesture, yet it felt like a slap in the face. How could she wear my clothes so casually while betraying me? I snapped a quick photo of her, a mental reminder of how brazenly she flaunted her betrayal. "Emily, we need to talk," I said, the words heavy in the air. "Not now, I'm tired," she replied, dismissing me with a wave of her hand. "Too bad," I shot back, the anger boiling over. "This can't wait." Her eyes widened, the playful smile fading into a concerned frown. I could see the wheels turning in her head, calculating her next move. "Okay, fine, what's this about?" she asked, her voice suddenly icy. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my composure. "I know about Jake, I saw the messages." She stared at me, her expression shifting from surprise to indignation. "Oh, come on, you're seriously going to believe that? It's nothing, he's just a coworker." "Just a coworker," I shot back, my voice rising. "You're going to lie to my face? I saw you kiss him." "Don't be ridiculous." "That was a misunderstanding," she protested, her voice tinged with anger. As she continued to weave her web of lies, I felt a mix of rage and betrayal. The woman I had trusted, who had promised to love me, was standing before me, defending an affair that I had seen with my own eyes. It was surreal, like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. I couldn't bear to listen to her excuses any longer. My heart was pounded in my chest, the anger consuming me. I knew I had to do something. I just didn't know what yet. The emotional turmoil was threatening to swallow me whole. And I sat there wondering how I had been so blind. To be continued. The confrontation left a bitter taste in my mouth. I felt raw and exposed, like I had been stripped of my dignity right in my own home. Emily continued to deny everything, her tone fluctuating between defensive and pleading. I could see the cracks forming in her facade, but each time I pressed, she would pivot, turning the blame back on me. "You're paranoid. You're being ridiculous. I'm not cheating on you." I was torn between disbelief and anger. I thought back to the little things, the late nights, the secretive texts, the way she seemed to change whenever I walked into the room. It all pointed to betrayal, but how could the woman I loved be capable of such deceit? I felt like I was drowning in a sea of confusion and frustration. After what felt like hours of back and forth, I finally shouted, "I can't do this anymore," and stormed out of the room. I needed air. I needed to think. I stepped outside into the cool night, the stars twinkling in the sky like tiny pinpricks of hope in my darkening world. How had we gotten here? The memories of our wedding day flooded my mind. Emily standing at the altar, radiant and smiling, promising to love me for better or worse. I never expected worse to come so soon and so fiercely. I paced around the yard, trying to sort through my emotions. I thought about what I could do next. All I felt was a sense of betrayal mixed with a desperate need for revenge. I wasn't sure what that would look like yet, but I was determined to make her feel the pain she caused me. I wanted her to understand the depth of my betrayal. The next morning, I decided to gather evidence. The idea of confronting her again, armed with proof, felt oddly satisfying. I dug through her things, the drawer where she kept her phone and her various bags, searching for anything that would confirm my suspicions. When I found her work bag, I hesitated for a moment. I knew it wasn't right to invade her privacy, but the anger bubbling inside me pushed me forward. I rifled through her purse, found her phone, and opened her messages. There were more texts to Jake, flirty, intimate. My heart raced as I read through the exchanges. She had been meeting him regularly, and it was painfully clear that this wasn't just a fling, it was something deeper. I snapped screenshots of everything. Each message felt like a dagger to my heart, but I couldn't stop. I wanted proof, something concrete that I could throw back in her face when I confronted her again. I planned to confront her after work, armed with everything I had found. When Emily returned home that night, I was ready. I had the screenshots pulled up on my phone, positioned like evidence on a courtroom table. She entered the house, dropping her bag on the floor, and I could see the instant tension in her shoulders. "Can we talk?" I asked, my voice steady, betraying none of my inner turmoil. "About what?" she replied, crossing her arms, a defensive posture I had seen before. "About Jake," I said, pulling my phone from my pocket. "And the messages." Her expression changed. "What messages?" she retorted, feigning ignorance. I held my phone out, showing her the screen. The color drained from her face as she scanned the messages, her eyes widening with realization. You went through my things," she stammered, her voice wavering. "Save it, Emily. This is not about my privacy. This is about you betraying me." I shouted, my voice echoing off the walls of our home. She looked trapped like a deer in headlights. "You don't get it. It was just a stupid fling that meant nothing." "Nothing," I yelled, my anger boiling over. "You've been lying to me. You've been sneaking around. How can you say this meant nothing?" "I was unhappy," she snapped back, her voice rising. "You don't understand what it's like. I felt neglected." "Neglected?" I echoed incredulously. "So it's my fault you decided to cheat?" "No, that's not what I meant," she replied, her voice suddenly pleading. "I just meant I don't know. I was looking for something that was missing." "Missing? Missing what? Your self-respect?" I shot back, disgust bubbling in my throat. The fight escalated from there, words flying back and forth like projectiles. I felt a mix of anger and sadness as her excuses rang hollow in my ears. With each lie she told, I felt a piece of me shatter like glass breaking against the floor. I left her standing there, my heart heavy with betrayal, and retreated to the living room to gather my thoughts. I needed a plan. I needed to flip the script and show her that she couldn't just walk all over me. The anger was still simmering beneath the surface, and I knew it wouldn't dissipate until I held the upper hand. I spent the night tossing and turning, my mind racing with thoughts of revenge. I had to make her feel what I felt, to understand the consequences of her actions. But how could I do that without sinking to her level? To be continued. The days that followed were a blur of anger, confusion, and a desperate need for clarity. I was living in a whirlwind, trapped in a reality that felt more and more like a bad dream. Emily's betrayal hung over our house like a thick fog, suffocating the remnants of our once happy home. I moved through life on autopilot, going to work, pretending everything was fine, while inside I was a storm of emotions. I strategically avoided Emily for a few days, letting the silence weigh heavily between us. Each time I saw her wearing my hoodie, I was reminded of the betrayal, the casualness of her infidelity. It felt like a slap in the face every time I caught sight of her. She'd attempt to engage me in small talk, but I would respond with curt replies, my heart hardened by the pain she inflicted. Meanwhile, I continued to gather evidence, documenting more of her messages with Jake. I became something of a detective, obsessively checking her social media accounts and email. I was hurt, angry, and determined to make her feel the consequences of her actions. I wanted her to pay for what she had done. I started formulating a plan, a way to expose her infidelity in a manner that would leave a lasting impact. I reached out to a close friend, Mike, a guy who had been through his own relationship turmoil. He'd always been there for me, and I knew he'd understand the depths of my despair. Over drinks one night, I poured my heart out, recounting everything that had transpired. "Dude, you can't just let her get away with this," Mike said, his brow furrowing in concern. "You need to show her that this is serious." I explained my idea of involving Jake, of confronting him directly. It was a risky move, but I felt it was the only way to make her understand the weight of her betrayal. Mike agreed, suggesting that I should reach out to him first. "You can catch them in the act and then lay it all out for her. It'll be the ultimate wake-up call." I knew he was right. I had to confront Jake, and the thought sent chills down my spine. I took a few days to prepare myself, drafting messages that swung between straightforward and confrontational. Finally, one night, I mustered the courage to send him a text. "Hey Jake, we need to talk, it's about Emily." The response came almost immediately. "What do you mean?" he replied, a hint of annoyance in his tone. I decided to play it cool, not revealing too much. "I think you know what I'm talking about. Let's meet tomorrow." As I waited for his reply, I felt a mix of dread and satisfaction. I was taking control of the situation, and it felt exhilarating. The next morning, Jake agreed to meet me at a coffee shop downtown. I spent the morning pacing, rehearsing what I would say. I wanted to approach him with a level-headed demeanor, but the anger bubbled just beneath the surface. When I arrived at the coffee shop, I spotted him sitting at a table in the corner, scrolling through his phone. He looked relaxed, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside me. As I approached, I could feel my heart racing. There he was, the man who had been sneaking around with my wife, and I was ready to confront him. "Jake," I said, my voice steady but filled with an underlying tension. He looked up, his expression shifting from casual to surprised. "Who are you?" he asked, confusion spreading across his face. "I'm Emily's husband," I replied, the words spilling out like molten lava. "And we need to talk." His expression morphed into one of annoyance. "What do you want? I didn't do anything wrong with you, man." "This is all Emily's fault." I clenched my jaw, suppressing the urge to punch him right then and there. "You have no idea what you've done to marriage. You think this is just a game." "Look, dude, I didn't force her to do anything. She made her own choices," he shot back defensively. The anger flared within me, but I fought to maintain control. "Right, but you encouraged her. You're just as responsible for this mess as she is." We went back and forth, the tension escalating as I pressed him about his intentions with Emily. I demanded to know how serious it was between them, and whether he even cared that he was messing with someone's life. He kept insisting it was just fun, that I was overreacting, and that Emily was unhappy in our marriage. "That's not an excuse to cheat, Jake," I barked, my patience wearing thin. I could see the realization dawn on him that I wasn't backing down. I let the conversation simmer for a bit before introducing my final point. "You need to tell her that you're done. I want her to face the consequences of her actions, and you need to tell her it's over." Jake smirked, leaning back in his chair. "Why would I do that? This is fun for me. I'm not going to ruin it just because you're upset." In that moment, I felt a surge of determination. I was done playing his game. "You do realize she's married, right? And that this isn't just some fling. You're messing with someone's heart." Before he could respond, I stood up, leaving him at the table. I had done what I needed to do. I felt an odd sense of empowerment, but there was still a nagging doubt in the back of my mind. I returned home, my heart hammering in my chest, ready to implement the next step in my plan. I needed to confront Emily once and for all. I was done being the passive husband, the trusting fool who had let things slide. To be continued. The moment I stepped into the house, The weight of the confrontation with Jake settled heavily on my shoulders. I was filled with adrenaline, a cocktail of anger and determination bubbling within me. I could feel that I was on the cusp of exposing Emily for what she truly was, a liar and a cheat, and I was ready to make her face the full consequences of her actions. Emily was. In the kitchen, her back turned to me as she prepared dinner. My heart raced as I watched her chop vegetables with an unbothered demeanor, blissfully unaware of the storm that was about to hit her. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the conversation ahead. "Emily," I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. She turned around, a smile brightening her face, but it quickly vanished when she saw the look in my eyes. "Hey, you're back early," she said, her tone betraying a hint of nervousness. "We need to talk now." The air thickened with tension as she set down the knife and wiped her hands on a towel. "About what? You've been so distant lately. Is this about Jake again?" There it was. The mere mention of Jake was like a red flag waving in front of my face, igniting my anger anew. "You know what this is about, Emily. I met with him today." Her eyes widened and I could see the color drain from her face. "You did what?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "I talked to him about you. About what you've been doing." Behind my back, I shot back, my voice rising, "and he admitted to everything." She opened her mouth to protest, but I cut her off. "Don't even try to lie to me. I have the proof, the messages, everything. You've been sneaking around, and now it's time you face the reality of what you've done." Her expression shifted from disbelief to anger. "You went through my stuff. How dare you invade my privacy? You're the one who's acting like a crazy person." "Oh, I'm the crazy one," I countered, my frustration boiling over. "You're the one who's been cheating. You think I'm just going to sit here and take it?" She crossed her arms, a defensive posture I had grown tired of. "You don't understand what I was going through. I felt trapped in our marriage. You've been so focused on work that I felt like I didn't have a partner anymore." "Is that really your excuse?" I yelled, disbelief coursing through me. "So you thought sneaking off with another man was the answer? You couldn't even talk to me about it?" "It's complicated," she shot back, her voice rising. "I didn't mean for it to happen." "Didn't mean for it to happen," I echoed incredulously. "You were the one who made that choice. You went on dates with him, kissed him, probably even slept with him. And now you want me to feel sorry for you." Tears welled in her eyes, and I could see the facade of anger slipping away, revealing a mix of guilt and fear. "I didn't know how to handle it. I thought I could make it work, but I was weak. I got carried away." I was done listening to her excuses. "Weakness isn't an excuse for infidelity, Emily. You had a choice and you made the wrong one. Now you expect me to just forgive you." "I want to make things right," she pleaded, her voice breaking. "Just give me a chance." "A chance? You had your chance and you blew it," I shouted, my heart racing. "You've shattered my trust and I don't know if I can ever get it back." Emily stepped closer, desperation etched on her face. "Please don't give up on us. We can work through this. I love you." Her words felt hollow, like a last-ditch effort to salvage something that no longer existed. "Love? Is that what you call this? Because it sure doesn't feel like it," I replied coldly. "You love me, yet you've been sleeping with another man. How does that even make sense?" "I know I messed up, I know," she cried, her voice rising higher with each word. "But I swear it didn't mean anything. It was a mistake." "A mistake? You call this a mistake?" I scoffed, the bitterness rising like bile in my throat. "This wasn't a mistake, Emily. This was a choice. You chose to betray me and now you want to play the victim." "I'm not a victim," she fired back, her voice shaking. I was confused. I thought I'd find something I had lost, but I see now that I was wrong." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my decision pressing down on me. "You're right about one thing, you were wrong, and now you need to face the consequences. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep pretending everything is fine when it's not." "What do you mean? Are you leaving me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not sure what I'm going to do," I replied, the uncertainty gnawing at me. "But I can't stay in a marriage built on lies and betrayal. I need time to think about everything." I turned to walk away, emotions swirling within me like a tempest. As I reached the door, I heard her call out, "Don't walk away from me. Please, we can fix this." But I couldn't turn back. I needed to process everything. The anger, the hurt, the betrayal, it all weighed heavily on my heart. I stepped outside, breathing in the cool evening air, my mind racing. I knew I had a tough road ahead. I could feel the sting of betrayal, and the desire for revenge still simmered beneath the surface. But I also knew that I needed to focus on myself first. I needed to figure out what I wanted and what I could tolerate moving forward. To be continued. The following days were a chaotic mix of emotions. I felt like I was living in a haze, caught between anger, heartbreak, and confusion. I moved through life as though I were merely a spectator, watching my life unfold from a distance. Every corner of the house echoed with memories of happier times, intensifying the grief that weighed heavily on my chest. I took the time to reflect on the situation. Emily's betrayal had left me feeling hollow, and I realized that I needed to make a decision about our future. I spent hours thinking about our marriage, about the love we had shared and the trust that had been shattered. I felt torn between the desire for revenge and the hope that perhaps there was a way to salvage what was left. Conversations with Mike helped clear my mind. He reminded me that it was okay to take my time, that I didn't need to rush into any decisions. You have every right to feel angry, he told me one night over drinks, but think about what you really want. As I considered my options, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal that lingered in the air. I needed closure, not just for myself but for Emily as well. It was time to confront her again, but this time I wanted to approach it with a clear mindset. I didn't want to get lost in the chaos of emotions. I wanted to be honest about what I needed moving forward. That evening, I called Emily and asked her to meet me at a nearby park. I needed a neutral space where we could talk without the confines of our home weighing down the conversation. When I arrived, I saw her sitting on a bench, fiddling with her hands, her face a mix of anxiety and hope. "Thanks for coming," I said, taking a seat beside her. I could see the tension in her shoulders, the way she glanced nervously around the park. "I didn't know if you want to see me again," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I needed some time to think," I replied, my voice steady. "I've been doing a lot of reflecting and I want to talk about us." She nodded, her gaze fixed on the ground. "I understand. I've been thinking a lot too. I hate what I did and I'm so sorry. I know I messed up. I need you to understand that what you did hurt me deeply," I said, my heart racing. "It's not just about the act of cheating, it's everything that came with it, the lies, the deception. I trusted you and you shattered that trust." "I know, and I regret it every single day," she said, her voice trembling. "I wish I could take it back. I never wanted to hurt you." "Emily, I need to know if this is something you really want to fix," I said, looking into her eyes. "Are you willing to put in the work to repair our marriage? Because it's going to take a lot from both of us." "I want to," she replied, her voice filled with earnestness. "I know I made a terrible mistake, but I still love you. I want to make this right." The sincerity in her eyes tugged at my heartstrings, but I couldn't ignore the nagging doubts that lingered in the back of my mind. "Love isn't enough, Emily. I need to see that you're willing to change, that you're serious about rebuilding our trust." She nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I will do whatever it takes. I'll go to therapy. Whatever you need, just please don't give up on me." I took a deep breath, weighing my options. As much as I wanted to believe her, the fear of being hurt again loomed large in my mind. "I need some time to think about this before we make any decisions. I can't promise anything right now." "Okay," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I understand. Just know that I'm here and I'm willing to fight for us." As we sat there in the fading light, I felt a mix of hope and dread. Could I really give her another chance after everything that had happened? The emotional scars were still fresh, and the thought of reopening that wound seemed almost unbearable. But maybe, just maybe, there was a glimmer of hope in the darkness. As I drove home, I reflected on our conversation. I felt a surge of uncertainty. Could I trust her again? The desire for revenge had subsided, replaced by a yearning to heal. I wanted to move forward, but I needed to do it on my terms. I decided to take things one day at a time. I would allow myself to feel the hurt, but I wouldn't let it define me. If Emily truly wanted to change, she would have to prove it, not just with words but with actions. As the days turned into weeks, I set boundaries for our relationship. I encouraged Emily to seek therapy, both individually and as a couple. I wanted her to reflect on her actions and understand why she had strayed. If we were going to rebuild, we needed to address the underlying issues that had led to her betrayal. Over time, I began to see small changes in her behavior. She became more open about her feelings, more willing to communicate. While the road ahead was still rocky, I felt a renewed sense of hope. Maybe we could salvage what remained if we both put in the effort. Yet the lingering question remained: could I truly forgive and forget? Only time would tell, but I was determined to find out. To be continued. The weeks turned into months, and I found myself in a delicate dance with Emily, navigating the fragile landscape of our marriage. Every day brought new challenges, but we were both committed to facing them together, albeit with a mix of hope and trepidation. I watched as Emily took the initiative to change. She attended therapy regularly and even encouraged me to join her for couples sessions. At first, I was hesitant. The thought of sitting in a room with her and a therapist, dissecting the pain she had caused, felt overwhelming. But I knew we couldn't heal if we didn't address the wounds head-on. In those therapy sessions, we began to peel back the layers of our relationship. We talked about the emotional distance that had developed over time, the way we both had taken each other for granted. Emily expressed the loneliness she felt, and I admitted to the times I had prioritized work over our marriage. Each session was a revelation, pushing us to confront the uncomfortable truths we had avoided for too long. There were days when I would feel the anger rise up inside me, like a fire that had been smoldering for too long. In those moments, I would remind myself of how far we had come. I had to let go of the image of Emily as a betrayer and instead see her as a flawed human being trying to make amends. I found myself slowly shedding the heavy cloak of resentment, piece by piece. Gradually, I began to trust her again, but it was a slow process. There were still moments when I'd catch a hint of insecurity, but I learned to communicate those feelings instead of letting them fester. Emily, for her part, was patient and understanding, always willing to reassure me of her commitment. One evening, as we sat together on the couch, I felt a warmth between us that had been absent for so long. Emily turned to me, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you for being willing to work through this. I know I hurt you, and I'm truly sorry. I'm committed to making this work, no matter what it takes." Her sincerity touched me deeply. I realized that while the road to recovery had been fraught with obstacles, we had both grown as individuals and as partners. We were learning not just to forgive each other, but also to forgive ourselves for the mistakes we had made. It was during one of those quiet evenings, surrounded by the familiar comfort of our home, that I felt a shift within myself. I had moved past the desire for revenge. I didn't want to punish her anymore. Instead, I wanted to build a future filled with understanding and love. I knew that the scars of betrayal would always be there, but they could serve as reminders of how far we had come. One weekend, we decided to take a trip to the coast, something we hadn't done in years. As we walked along the beach, hand in hand, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The sound of the waves crashing against the shore mirrored the rhythm of my heart, calming the tumult within. "Look at us," Emily said, her eyes sparkling with joy. "We made it here together." I chuckled lightly, feeling lighter than I had in a long time. "Yeah, it's been a journey, hasn't it?" "It really has," she replied, nudging her shoulder against mine. "But I wouldn't want to journey through it with anyone else." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the beach, I realized that while our relationship would never be the same, it had the potential to evolve into something deeper. We had faced the storm and emerged on the other side, stronger and more resilient. I learned that love isn't just about the good times, it's about weathering the storms together. It's about vulnerability, forgiveness, and the willingness to grow. I knew there would still be challenges ahead, but I felt hopeful. We were both committed to working on ourselves and our marriage, and that was what mattered most. Looking back, I could see how the betrayal had forced us to confront the issues we had ignored for too long. It had been a catalyst for change, igniting a desire to rebuild, not just the trust that had been shattered, but the very foundation of our relationship. As we stood together on that beach, watching the sunset, I felt a sense of hope for the future. We were no longer just a couple hoping to survive. We were partners committed to thriving. It was a new beginning, a chance to create a love that was stronger and more authentic than ever before. Life may not always go as planned, and the unexpected can often shake us to our core. But through it all, I learned that resilience, honesty, and love could guide us back to one another no matter how lost we felt. And as we walked back toward the car, hand in hand, I knew that whatever lay ahead, we were ready to face it together.